Hey, today I'll be covering all explosive and energy weapons in Helldivers 2. I'll compare their cooldowns, ergonomics, and much more. Also, if you saw part of this video 2 days ago, I enlisted it due to a bug on my channel, so this video includes some updated information, some new clips, and whatnot. Anyway, if you could show some love by hitting the like button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's get started. Alrighty, what we have first is the Dominator, and this right here is absolutely amazing. We're going to be using iron sights for better ergonomics, but feel free to use some of the other optics. And then lastly, we've got the underbarrel. I'm using vertical foregrip, not the flashlight. I know, you guys are sick of it. And you can use angled foregrip for better ergonomics. This right here is a comparison between the two passives to show you how well it works with the sway reduce passive and one without it. And then when it comes down to the Volus, it's not bad. Just shoot them. One shot each. Usually it's one shot. Sometimes it might be two if you hit their arm or nick it. Then for the good old Overseers, about 5 shots there. And it can be one shot if you aim directly for the head on an Overseer. Sometimes it might be more, again, if you just don't aim directly for the head. So moving on towards the Flesh Mob. This took a total of 2 magazines. It might take more if you miss your shots, but that's going to be pretty hard to do. Sometimes these Flesh Mobs will merge through the walls. That can be annoying, so I had to wait it out just a little bit here, shoot a few more shots, and then there it goes. It's down. That's all. Next up, the Terminates. 2 shots for the Hive Guards. 1 shot for the smaller enemies, whether that's some of the Predator Strains or some of the Warriors and whatnot. Those are 1 shots. And then the good old Predator Strain again right there, 1 shot. That's a medium-sized enemy. And a whole entire magazine for the backside or the abdomen of a Charger. And that's how you take down a Charger with this weapon. Oh, and also 2 shots for a Brood and Alpha Commander to take it down. Then moving on towards the automatons, 4 to 5 shots to the body of a Devastator. It can be 1 shot if you aim for the cranium. Smaller bots like these are going to take 1 shot, of course. Then the shielded Scout Striders, 2 for the pelvis. That'll absolutely bring it down. Then moving on towards the Hulk. This took a total of half a magazine to bring it down, and that's all you have to do for that enemy. Number 2, the Eruptor. I'm using iron sight again. Feel free to choose some of the other optics. Underbarrel is going to be vertical foregrip to sort of keep things tighter together, but you have your options for better ergonomics when it comes down to angled foregrip. So let's check out the peak physique when using the Eruptor. You can see there's a lot more drag here, even with the improved ergonomics. Then with the peak physique on, you can tell there's a big difference there. It's a lot better. Taking down enemies such as Volus and crowds is a great crowd control weapon. You can take down multiple just by aiming. Due to the shrapnel there, it just targets everything. When it comes to the Overseers, it takes about 2 shots. Even when they have their shield propped up, you can still pierce through it. Sometimes there's instances where you can actually take it down with 1 shot, like in this clip right here. I think that's all due to the shrapnel hitting it all at once. You'll see another example here of 1-shotting, but this was towards the backpack, which, of course, if you hit the jump pack, it'll blow it up, and 2 shots there. With that said, we've tested out the Volus and the Overseers. For the Flesh Mobs, it's a total of 3 shots, and they're down for good. I love this weapon, especially for the Flesh Mobs. So before we continue forward, I just want to point out some cool things. You can blow up Arc Tesla towers easily. And if you want to blow up a warp ship, it's 2 shots to bring down the shields, and then 1 shot towards the doorway to blow it up. Alright, for Terminids, 1 shot for medium-sized Predator Strains and smaller ones. You can see in the distance, there's a Hive Guard. It took a total of 2 shots. That was it. And in the distance here, we have some Predator Strains mixed with some other types of enemies. 1 shot. Good old Brood and Alpha Commanders, 1 to 2 shots there. And that's all she wrote with that weapon. And for the backside of a Charger, or the abdomen I should say, it's a total of 3 shots and it'll blow up. Okay, heading over towards the automatons for Devastators and a mix of enemies. It's 1 shot. It's better to aim at them when they're in groups. And then the shielded Scout Striders is 1 to 2 shots, depending on if you hit the rocket. Lastly, for the automatons, specifically the Hulks, 2 shots to the Heatsink. It'll blow up. And that's all you need to do to make it explode and bring this Hulk down. Continuing forward, energy weapons, the Scorcher. For optics, we're using iron sight. You can choose some of the other options, although there's not really much of a difference here besides ergonomics, and it's only -5 if you choose the scopes. As for underbarrel, we're using vertical foregrip. I saw the comments last time. A lot of you hate the flashlight vertical foregrip, and we're using this one because it just makes a difference in terms of accuracy and ergonomics as well. Now, sure, you could use angled foregrip to increase your ergonomics. However, the reason why I'm choosing vertical foregrip is to keep my shots more accurate. As you can tell on the bottom right, it shows how accurate it is. With that said, we're first testing this on the Illuminus, starting with the Volus. You can see how it looks when aiming in first person mode with just an iron sight. I personally prefer to aim in third person mode. Nevertheless, you can tell it's absolutely stellar when you hit the Volus with the Scorcher. It's not going to help you with crowd control like a shotgun would, but it's pretty effective. The Overseers can be defeated quickly if you aim directly at the chest, put 5 shots in there. This is a light pin, but it's also a medium penetration weapon due to the AoE area of effect, of course, so that's something to know about this weapon specifically. Besides that, I want to mention that if you're not aiming accurately like I am in this clip, you'll probably use 1 magazine to take out 2 Overseers, or maybe 1 magazine for just 1 Overseer if your aim is sporadic. Now, flesh mobs are a bit different. You don't need to be precise with your shots, just try to pump as many rounds into them as possible. I noticed during my testing that it took 1 magazine and a quarter of my next one to take down a flesh mob. You might need to fire more rounds if your aim isn't great, but it's pretty hard to miss such a large enemy like this, unless you're getting swarmed by a bunch of Volus, which can make the situation tricky. I did miss 1 round at the start that hit the fence. Regardless, the rest of the shots were on point. Terminids, on the other hand, are going to be a breeze. The Scorcher is powerful enough to 2 to 3 shot medium-sized enemies like Hive Guards, Brood, and Alpha Commanders, and Nursery Spears, depending on where you hit them. Obviously, Hive Guards are a bit of a challenge since they have medium armor. Other than that, most enemies will go down quickly if you aim for their heads, and smaller bugs aren't an issue. Before we continue on to the automatons, it takes a total of 12 shots and maybe about almost your full entire magazine, again if your shots aren't accurate. Other than that, you can take out these good old large enemies like the Chargers pretty quickly. How about the automatons? Well, Devastators can be one shot, as always, if you aim for the cranium, which is what I suggest you do. Smaller bots only take 1 shot too, and like with the Volus, you can use the Scorcher to manage crowds, with the bots and all that decently. Hulks require at least 4 shots at the heatsink on their backs, or about a quarter of your magazine to take them out. Simply walk away once you've done so, and they'll flop over. Next up, we've got the Purifier. I've been a fan of the Purifier ever since it launched. Regardless, we've got optics here, and I'm choosing iron sight. You can choose the other options. The same situation applies here with, the Scorcher and whatnot, right? We saw that the Scorcher gave us a -5 if we chose some of the other options, and what I did was went with iron sights to have better ergonomics, so it went up by +5. And then for the underbarrel here, again, I'm choosing vertical foregrip for the accuracy, and you can tell that if you want to, you can actually use angled foregrip so that you have better ergonomics, but the accuracy, on the other hand, is going to be kind of bad here, as you can tell. Anyways, let's talk about enemies. I recommend holding down the Purifier's trigger button until it's fully charged, then releasing it. This can effectively crowd control Volus, stopping them from attacking you, citizens, Scythe members, or your own Helldivers squad. It's powerful and can take out multiple Volus at once. Speaking of holding down the trigger, you can use the same technique to defeat 2 or more Overseers, as it only takes 2 charged shots to take down 1 Volus. If they're grouped together, you can defeat more than 1. Firing at an Overseer without charging your shots will take about 7 shots. In this clip, it was tricky when you're surrounded by Volus, and the Overseer will eventually deploy its shield if it feels it's being threatened or it's being hit too many times. So overall, I recommend charging your shots instead of firing rapidly. For instance, flesh mobs can be taken out quickly if you charge each shot. It took 7 charge hits total. If you're just firing away, it takes way more ammo. You'll need to dish out additional energy shots to defeat a flesh mob. For example, it took 2 full-sized magazines to defeat this Illuminate here. Also, on a side note, you may have noticed previously in the other clip that the flesh mob somehow merged its way into the wall. That happens quite often, and it even happened on some of the colony missions as well. The same situation applies with the Terminates. Always charge your shots. I mean, for example, you'll see in this clip right here, when it comes down to the Brood Commander or the Alpha Commanders, it takes a little bit more to bring them down. Aiming for their head took about, almost my entire magazine, and that's just not optimal. You'll also have a better time if you just give yourself some distance between the enemy and yourself, so you can charge those shots and just aim directly at groups, just nailing out multiple Terminids, and that's your best option there. Now, when it comes down to the bigger enemies, like the Chargers, it takes about a 6 to 7 total shots if you're just aiming for the backside or the abdomen. Just shoot about 7 rounds there and they'll go down. When it comes to the automatons, you just want to charge your shots. You'll see a great example here when I charge up my shot and use it on this Scout Strider. It takes it down quickly. If you're aiming for the Devastators, it's best to charge your shots instead of aiming for the cranium. However, feel free to do it the way you want to. I personally prefer to charge my shots. Oh, and I haven't forgotten about the Hulks. It took a total of 5 shots to blow up the Heatsink, and that was it. We're now going to move on towards the Scythe. I've compared the heat cooldown, but before we get to that, let's discuss attachments. The optics are interesting. The 2x tube or red dot slightly worsens ergonomics, while anything below that slightly improves it, and all 4 options provide the same stats. Besides the optics, for the underbarrel, I chose the angled foregrip, as the laser sight with flashlight reduces ergonomics by 10, which didn't seem like a great choice in my opinion. The best one is angled foregrip since it increases the ergonomics. Lastly, for attachments, the magazine that helps a lot with cooling, including the standard heatsink, high capacity heatsink, and high dissipation heatsink. I'll compare these side by side so you can get a better understand at which one is the best to use, or at least see what the main differences are. So when I made this video public, I actually messed up the top portion here. Everything's accurate now. You can tell the difference is high dissipation is probably the best one next to high capacity. I would choose high dissipation. As you can tell, it just allows you to fire it longer, but the cooldown is slightly longer as well. And those are pretty much the key differences. Now for high capacity, it does allow you to fire it a lot more often, but you're going to have to deal with the faster cooldown and the faster overheat. So those are also the differences there too. But what I did was I decided to test out the high dissipation and show you guys how it performed. The question is, well, how did it perform? The Scythe isn't a bad energy weapon to use on the battlefield as long as you're mindful of the overheat gauge on the left side. Other than that, it's great for plowing through Volus and can potentially be a good crowd control weapon, but as I've just said, you have to be careful to not overheat it. You can use it to take out 2 overseers quickly without overheating the Scythe, which you'll see right here. As I've said earlier in the video, you'll want to aim for the chest plate, and that's the best way to defeat an overseer. Lastly, for the Illuminate, the Scythe performs well against flesh mobs. I found it effective at taking down a flesh mob without a problem. You're likely to use a full magazine if you do overheat, but letting it cool down slightly before firing again will help you defeat this Illuminate enemy for good. It's also not bad against the Terminids as well. I took out a Brood Commander right there easily, and then took out some of these warriors and smaller enemies pretty fast. It's a decent crowd control weapon that I think you guys are going to love, especially if you use one of the heat sinks. Again, high capacity might be a better option here, but I didn't think the dissipation heatsink was bad either. It was pretty decent. And I wouldn't recommend using the laser or the Scythe, I should say, on this enemy right here, the Charger. You're going to be there pretty much all day trying to do it. Is it possible? Yeah, it's absolutely possible, but it's not worth it. You're better off using a support weapon or maybe a thermite grenade instead. But yeah, just don't even do it. Lastly, we've got the automatons. You can easily take out bots and even devastators if you aim for the skull. If not, just aim for the body. It's not a big deal. And then if we aim for the backside of a heatsink, it doesn't take too long. As you can tell on the bottom left, we're not even close to overheating. And that right there is an excellent way to take out a Hulk with the Scythe. Okay, what I'll do next is actually knock 2 birds out with 1 stone here. We're going to talk about the double-edged sickle and the sickle. Both of these weapons do not have a lot of customization options. In fact, you only have one thing to change, and that's optics. We've got iron sight and the 2x tube red dot. and that goes for both weapons. I'm going to show you what it looks like in terms of ergonomics, and I'll also explain ergonomics here just quickly. Basically, what ergonomics is when that big gray circle gets to the smaller dot in the middle. Basically, it just depends on how fast it gets there. Sometimes it can be slower. For weapons like the Eruptor, it's quite slow. Nonetheless, what I'm going to do here is actually show a before and after, one with the red dot, one without it, just with the iron sight, and you guys can tell me if you see a difference. I couldn't tell a difference. I really couldn't, and I'll say the same thing I've said in a previous video of mine. I don't think ergonomics is a huge thing to change. Sure, certain weapons like the Eruptor, if you change the ergonomics there, it's going to make a big difference. For weapons like this, it really doesn't make a huge difference, and that's just my opinion. You guys might feel different about it, but I would like to know if you can spot a difference here, if you can anyways. So before I wrap up the video, I do want to say I didn't test out the plasma shotgun or the blitzer because really it's just about ergonomics, and that's kind of boring. There's not really much I could show you. There's truly not much. It's the same situation here anyways. That's pretty much all the testing I did. I hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, consider subscribing, turn on notifications, and tapping the like button. I'd greatly appreciate it if you haven't already. And there's no top comments. That'll be posted in the next video. Thanks for watching.